Camera's rolling.
Baby, I'm too young to know any better, but I guess I'm just too old to care. I'm waiting on the morning light to clear the air. Now the sky is wrong with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you created. The one that you hated. Now the sky is wrong with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you.
Dad Talk today. Hope you are having a good Saturday. The subject matter that we've got today is a little dark, and it comes out of a county that is called Dark County. They named that very good, if you ask me. Really quick before we get started, if you would, Cash App, Venmo, Patreon, many ways you can support this show. Dad Talk today, no spaces. There's also super chats and memberships over there on YouTube. Same thing on Facebook. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and ding the bell so you're getting notifications of when we go live. Our store is now active over on dadtalktoday.com. Please go get your merch and support the show. But when I say please like, share, and subscribe and help us get that out there, it's to make sure that the world knows about stories like we are going to be talking about today. Still kind of new over there on TikTok, guys. We have gotten 35,000 followers in less than 3 weeks. And the stories that have been coming to me from over there is just horrendous. And this is one of those. I got Mr. Justin Knoll with me here today. Justin, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing all right, man. So, I got to see your message about you reaching out to me about your son. And I'm not going to lie. I kind of went through the TikTok, got some of the information that was going on. Obviously, you're upset. You have a reason to be upset. Your son, Caleb, passed away, 14 years old. And from what I've heard about this sounds like a death that could have been prevented. Tell us a little bit about your son, man. What kind of boy was he, and what kind of relationship did you guys have? It's all right, bro.
You can only say like everything I'm not. I don't care what kind of a math problem you had, what kind of number you threw at him. He would just like do this, and then he'd blurt the number out before I even had time to type it in my calculator.
He was a math whiz.
God, he was just like I said, everything I'm not. I was born a brute, and he was born a brain. Very smart. He loved video games. He actually wanted to do recordings, like playing video games and stuff.
That's actually a good field. Back when we was younger, when our parents told us we played too much video games and that our lives would never amount to nothing, they probably meant it. Nowadays, there is some of these kids that are making millions and millions of dollars playing video games.
And here I am, a truck driver, like my daddy told me to. But
you learn how to play the video games, Justin.
But he was very good with little kids. He loved his brother and sister. I don't want to say the names of his other two siblings because I didn't get permission, but Zoe and Xavier, he was very, very good with them. Luckily, thankfully, he got to see Zoe, so that was a good thing. Him and her, I don't know. that she's a daddy's girl. And when that boy would walk in the room, I didn't exist. She would just, this noise she would make, and he would get his face up to hers and she'd grab him. And it was funny at his funeral. I don't know why I did it. I grabbed his urn and I put it up to her, and I'll be darned if she didn't grab a hold of it and smooch up against it, just like she did when he was around. And it was just, he got picked on a lot. He was very protective of me, and just partially what caused his demise, I guess, because he was scared to tell me anything, because he knew I'd get angry and thought he'd lose me, or so there was just a lot of things he didn't want to tell me, or he would neglect to tell me, or if you'd ask him, "Hey, what's wrong, buddy?" "Nothing, Daddy. Don't worry about it. It's okay." And he was very good at throwing me, I guess.
Justin, let me ask you, how old was Caleb when you and his mom split up?
He was 3.
He was 3. Okay, so he didn't really too much remember those dynamics and when you and her were together. What was that relationship like when the two of you were together?
Well, she lost her job almost right after Caleb was born, because she wound up stealing money off some old lady at the nursing home. She worked at the nursing home, and she stole money out of an old lady, and because I wouldn't give her, she would ask me for money, and I'd say, "Well, what for?" She didn't want to tell me. So, I mean, I know that's kind of a dick move, but if you can't tell me why, I can't give it to you, because we got food, we got diapers, we got everything. For what do you need it for?
Right.
Well, about after that, she couldn't hold a job. Didn't even try to get a job. I struggled holding a job, because a lot of times when I would go to work, I was scared to death that I'd come home and her and him would be gone. So I actually kind of job hopped a lot. I lost a lot of jobs back then. I had a bad reputation, because I'd go to work and I'd call her on break, and she'd like, "I'm packing up, I'm leaving, I'm taking Caleb, you're never going to see him again." And like, no. Then I'd go tell my supervisor, "Man, I got to go home, man." Well, that only works so many times.
Right.
And I finally got a gig with being a cable installer, and that was amazing opportunity, but I had to buy my own vehicle. Well, I don't have money, so I bought me a F1 350. So pretty much everything that I made would have to go right back into the truck so I could keep it running for the next day. And she didn't like it, and obviously, I mean, why would you? So she left me for the man that she married, which is a very good guy. It was rough. It was very, very difficult. But like my father, you got her pregnant, you deal with it. So I did.
Yeah.
I got you, man. Now, when you two split up, were you married?
No.
Okay,
we were supposed to get married, but one of her friends, which I don't know which one, brought it to her attention that it's better off that you two don't get married, and as long as you're a single mother, you can utilize this, and this, and she did.
Yep, we see that all the time. The father has been incentivized to make sure that he stays out of the family. But what was that like after you two break up, trying to be inside of your son Caleb's life? Did you have any type of custody? What was that like, trying to go after those rights?
When it first started, I pretty much had lawyers like, son, obviously, unless you got money here, you ain't got a pot to pee in. There's really nothing you're going to do. you were never married, so that automatically makes her custodial parent. Money talks and BS walks, pretty much. I think I talked to 4 lawyers back then. It was probably, he was born in 2007, so 8, 9, 10, about 2011 maybe. I gave up. I just pretty much was like, all right, whatever. It'd come up to my weekend. I'd call her, say, where do you want to meet? And I would have to hope that she'd say at my house, at my mom's, or I would hear, well, sorry, I forgot to call you. We got plans, so maybe you can come over next week and the week after. And it just sucked.
I can understand that. I definitely can. I think anybody hearing you talk right now, hearing, hey, we've got plans, we've got something going on, my family's coming over this weekend or so, they've been through it. They've definitely been through it. Dwayne, I'm sure that you can definitely relate when you're listening to Justin talk about this.
I don't want to take anything away from this, but I've been triggered kind of since the very beginning. My father was a truck driver. My mother was in the hospital, or in the, I would say that she worked in a hospital. And the stuff that you're talking about reminds me of the first 10 years of my life. Just the fighting back and forth, my dad having to call up where he was in the union. So it was a little different. I don't know if it sounded like you probably weren't in the union, but being in the union, he was able to keep his job because he had to leave all the time, because she'd always say, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to take him out of the state. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So I spent the first 5 minutes we hadn't had a chance to talk too much. I didn't know kind of your background. And as you're talking, I'm just getting triggered. And that's kind of this family, the Dad Talk Today family. We all have different parts of this. I mean, my heart goes out to you in so many ways, as does the communities. There's just, so much there. I mean, you have this, had this great kid. You went through the breakup. You've learned the sad reality of where our court systems work is if you don't have a lot of money, you've got zero chance as a dad. Eric was talking about how, states are incentivized to profit off of this misery. I don't want to add insult to injury here, but the system is designed for this, to remove fathers from the homes where they can't raise their children, can't do those things. And your son, listening to part of it, it sounded like he was one of those, he was like, I don't want to say empath, because that sounds too new agey, but he was one of those people that put everyone else's feelings ahead of his. Does that sound like him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I get you.
So Caleb suffered from diabetes. When did you find out about his struggle with diabetes there, Justin?
He was, God, I feel horrible. I think he was 7 years old. He was being very ornery that day. Didn't want to mind. Didn't want to do anything I asked. It's very, very hyper, very just gotta go. But kids are like that. And finally get him upstairs to take a shower, because we got to get him cleaned up before we take him home. And he's up there talking, Daddy, I don't want to take a shower. I'm sure you guys know about that conversation. And while he's bathing, I'm like, yeah, I know. There's a lot of things I don't want to do, but I do it. And all of a sudden, I open up the cabinet to grab him a towel, getting ready to tell, all right, let's go. He goes from being what he normally was to like, Daddy, I don't feel good. And his voice, it was just, wait a minute. And we had glass doors on the shower. So I swing the thing open and I look at him, and he was just pale white.
No white, yeah.
His little eyes just started rolling up, and he was just rocking. And as I reached in to grab him, he had fallen, and I picked him up and pulled him out of there. I thought he was dead, because he wasn't moving. And I called his mother, and he finally, he kind of came out of it. And I think the neighbor lady just happened to have been a EMS, one of those people that volunteer. And
Yeah.
she came over and asked about diabetes. I don't know, and she did his finger. His sugar was really high. So I called his mother, and she's like, no, just bring him home. He does stuff like that all the time. And I was like, no. So we called the ambulance.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my God. Does stuff like that all the time.
I
How
have
often
been,
was she taking him to the doctor back then? Or do you even know?
the ambulance took him. I went against what she said. And that's what led to
For you.
this end game here. I was threatened with my other two kids, jail time. And even when the detectives came to my house the very next day after he passed away, I asked them, I said, if I would have just took him to the hospital against her will, where would I be right now? And there was a big hulky guy there. I don't remember what his name was. I think it was her partner. He just pretty much looked at me. He's like, yeah, you would have been arrested for going against her wishes. And I was like, I'd rather be sitting in prison right now than the prison I'm in right now. Because, I mean, maybe I'd have made bail by now, but I ain't going to make bail on this. I got to live with this. Yeah. I got all these people telling me that I shouldn't be thinking this way, but yeah, for years I knew something was up with her. There for the last year, I kept telling her she's trying to kill him. She's trying to kill him because he's diabetic. There's certain things that he's supposed to be eating. He has a dietitian. There's a list. There's things we got to do. I'm weighing his food. If I give him rice, he gets a certain amount, vegetables, a certain amount, certain types of meats. You can eat all the chicken you want, buddy, but this right here, I can only give you 3/4 of a cup, which is usually 2 to 3 ounces of rice, for example, which is not much, but I tried to make it fun for him. Where her pizza rolls, whatever.
Okay, so she just ignored all of the medical dietitian things that he had to have.
And
Right.
so in your mind, you felt like, look, just letting him die. Felt like it was gonna, like she's gonna kill him. I mean, I definitely get that. Oh, Justin, let me ask you about this picture right here. This is Caleb on the left there, guys. How old was Caleb in this picture? Do you remember?
14. Courtney's mother talked us into doing family pictures because we hadn't had family pictures done in a long time. And I had him and I said, yeah, let's do it. Because I wanted to wait until Zoe was born, but for some reason her mom pushed it to get it done. I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. And I'm glad we did because that's all I got left.
You okay, bro?
All right.
You're all right, man.
It's okay.
Guys, I want you to understand something. We're 8 months out from Caleb passing away, and I know what that's like there, Justin. Right here by my desk. I've never lost a kid, man. I lost my dad, and I kept this. It's one of the only pictures I've got of him, and I keep it right here beside me at all times. There's nothing I would give towards that. Sometimes we don't realize what pictures mean until that's what we've got left. And I know this is a very hard story for you to get out, and we're here for you, brother. You got to cry. You're here with guys that understand 100% what you're going through, and that's why I want to make sure that we give you the platform to do so. Let me ask you, leading up to this incident with Caleb, what was going on prior to this? I know there was a night where you guys was playing video games. Walk me through what went on that night.
I came home from work and I turned my Xbox on because he finally got his stepfather bought him an Xbox, and his mom was getting internet through Time Warner or Spectrum. And I'd get him come home and I'd have a new message or something, or I'd grab his headset and I'd plug it in and we'd talk. And while I was playing my game, he liked Fortnite. And I couldn't get into it.
You don't like Fortnite?
It's too easy. But he said, I without looking at it, it's
Right.
and I said, what's up, bub? And he's like, I don't know. And I think I said, you need to elaborate what's going on. And then he's like, I just don't know anymore. And that's when I kind of like, I don't like the way he's talking. So I went up and got his headset, and unfortunately, that's when the conversation ended. But he, what it was, I finally got on the headset. I said, "All right, what's going on?" He's like, "Nothing, Daddy. It doesn't really matter." But I said, "Yeah, it does. What's going on?" And he said, "Don't worry about it. It's okay. How was your day today?" And finally, this little kid, which I didn't know, we was in a party, and this little kid, I wished I could remember the kid's name, but he's like, "Caleb, tell him or I'm going to." And at that point, I'm like, "All right, what the H is going on here?" And finally, Caleb, he kind of gets soft, and he's like, "Daddy, I'm hungry." And I said, "What do you mean you're hungry? Where's your mom?" And she's like, "I don't." And he said, "I don't know," at Dean's again. And I was like, "When's the last time you ate?" And he said, so basically, that Thursday at school, he ate breakfast. So he had went 36 hours without food. He's diabetic.
He's diabetic.
Yeah,
That's the
can't
big
do that.
no-no.
So it's after 6 or after 7 at this point. The timestamp's on there. I don't remember what it was. But by the time I got to Greenville, it was almost 9 o'clock. So the only option I had was McDonald's. And I bought him a Big Mac, large fry, and a Diet Coke. That was, if I remember correctly, wait, no, it was a Big Mac, medium fry, and a large Coke is, if I was remembering correctly, that's 97 or 98 carbs. And depending on what his sugar was, that's usually about 15 units. And this little boy just starts jumping on this thing like he was, like he ain't ate in days. He looked like a grown man, just didn't have no control over himself. And I start texting her. I lied to her and said, "Hey, I'm still in Cincinnati. I'm getting back late. I just wanted to see how Caleb was doing." And she's like, "Oh, he's fine. He's sitting right here next to me eating." I was like, "What's he eating?" She said, "Pizza rolls." I said, "He ain't supposed to have pizza rolls, Ashley. You know that." I was like, "Well, I know that, but that's what he wanted." I said, "Okay. Can I talk to him?" So, "No, he's busy right now. I'll have him call you a little bit later." I said, "Can you tell me what he's eating again?" And she told me. And I said, "He's sitting right here next to me, Ashley, eating a Big Mac like he ain't ate in 36 hours. Matter of fact, he told me he hadn't eaten 36 hours, so that's why I drove up here to get him. And he told me that you're at Dean's house, which I'm actually sitting in front of Dean's house right now." And she's like, "Well, I'm not there. I had to go to one of my friend's house." I said, "But you just told me that you're home with him right now." And she's like, "Oh, I got mistaken." I said, "Well, you need to come outside and talk to me." And she's like, "I'm not there. I'm at my friend's house. I'm walking in the alley back towards the house." And I said, "I'm not dealing with your S. He's coming home with me." And she's like, "Fine, whatever. I can't, if that's what you feel that you got to do, take him. I don't give a damn." Or D. So I hung up on her and I started driving. I got to the Circle K there in Greenville. I think it's Circle K or Casey's. And I got kind of sick feeling. I thought I better pull over, and I called the police and let them know what happened. I said, I want to file a report. Well, the guy, because I didn't want her to say that I went there and kidnapped him, because she's done that before. Me and my mom and dad took him to Newport Aquarium, and I tell you what, I had state troopers up my butt. But so I'm talking to this police officer or the receptionist or whoever he was. I said, I want to file a report. He flat out told me, "Oh, well, we don't need to do that in this kind of case. Basically, what we have here, we'll just make documentation here." I was like, "Oh, well, all right, cool." So I left and went home, and things transpired. A couple months went by. After he had passed away, my lawyer said, "Do you think you can get a copy of that report that the police officer was talking about?" I said, "Yeah, I'll try." So I call up to the state. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. I even gave them the date. I gave them the time, everything. If they somebody would have done their job, he'd be alive.
Yep.
And I kind of got to be careful with what I say on that too, because
No, I got you. I 100% understand. So I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it back to this. What transpired after that night, you didn't have custody of Caleb up until that point. What happened after you brought him home that night?
I called Child Protective Services and let them know. As a matter of fact, that night, everything that went on, and I kept having this woman told me this was the first time I heard, "I'm sorry, Mr. Knoll, it's just not substantial enough for our involvement." And I'm going to
Because you're a guy.
I'm going to avoid saying what I said. I said some very vulgar things, and I said, "So what is it going to take? Is it going to take him to die for you guys to get involvement?" And she flat out said, "Well, unfortunately, we don't think that it will come down to that." And I said, "You better hope not." And I hung up on her. And then that shortly after that, I got told by her, if I continue to cause ripples, I'm never going to see him again. And I have the power to do that. I can take him from you whenever I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm going to be honest with you. Up until I made friends with the lawyer I have now, I really believed it. Dude, I'm a 300-pound man. I've been mugged. I had a guy put a gun to my head and tell me to give him my wallet. I said, pull the trigger. But when it came to that boy and my other two, I'm sorry, man. I ain't nothing. I'm a wet bag. And I let her rule me, and it killed him.
No, it's okay, man. So let me ask you. I think at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, you had to send Kayla back to her house.
Yeah, that's the night that he died. Well, the night before, it was. I want to say, what was it? Was it Sunday or Friday? He died on the 7th, so it was the 6th. So it was a Sunday. He was scheduled to go home anyway, but I wanted to take him to the hospital, and I had there's some of the text messages are missing because when I sent them to the detective and tried to archive some of them, I accidentally deleted quite a bit. So I think I accidentally sent doubles of one thing, and I don't know, but I was begging her to give me. I needed her to give me permission to take him, and she would not do it. Courtney was trying to get permission to take him to the hospital. She would not budge. He does this all the time. He just needs more insulin. Bring him to me. I was trying to get a hold of her at work. I called her boss. And when I called her boss, I was like, "Sir, Ashley has got to come home. My son has to go to the hospital, blah, blah, blah." I said, "I need to talk to her." And this man actually laughed in my ear. And I know why he was laughing. Because he was already having trouble with her. She called in all the time. She would have all kinds of reasons she would have to leave. So now all of a sudden you got the ex-boyfriend calling saying distress of the son. So yeah, I'll send you to her, you know? And it just,
No, I got you, man. But you reach out to the work. Did you ever get in touch with her? And when you did, what did she have to say?
she was being rude. Obviously, I'm at work. I'm dealing with this. And I said, "You work in a deli. I am in a semi stuck in a dock in Michigan. I need just, and I was starting to get violent, mad, not violent, but angry and yelling at her. And, well, you don't do that, but when it comes to him or any of my kids, man,
I can identify with you here, Justin. Before I started this podcast, I was a CDL driver. There is a lot of distance when you're on that road, and it's just you and that windshield time. When you got something going on with your family and you know that you are just miles away, the only place that you want to be is there, making sure that you're taking care of your family, and you're out here trying to make money for them. That's very frustrating. That's very frustrating, and there's only so much you can do. But it sounded like you was wanting to do it and you wasn't getting any cooperation.
Well, I got a hold of my dispatcher. He said, "Go ahead, head home." So I got home, got my car, got here, and I walked in the living room, and he was laying on the couch, And I said, all right, buddy, we got to go. Do you want to go to the hospital? And he said, yes. And I said, all right. So I tried to get his mother again. I said, he wants to go. And she said, he does that all the time. He's just trying to cause trouble, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, she's like, bring him here or I'm calling the cops. All right. So I have him stand up. He can barely walk. He's real tired. So I picked him up and I carried him out to the car. And I sat him in my car and we drive to Versailles. And we stopped and got him some water. He was starting to kind of feel a little better. So I thought, okay, maybe she was right and I'm just being overprotective. She's right. I'm overprotective. I'm just being stupid, you know? And when we get out, I was like, look, if he gets any worse, you need to take him to the hospital. So I opened my door and I was like, all right, buddy, come on. And he stumbled. So I caught him and I go to pick him up. I pick him up and I sat him in her car. And he said, Pap, what are we doing here? And I laughed. I said, I'm not Pap, Bub, I'm Daddy. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just really tired, Daddy. It's okay. So I shut the door and I looked at her and I said, he needs to go to the hospital. Just take him or let me take him. And by this time, everybody's leaving John's IGA. And she, at the top of her lungs, just starts yelling, you need to calm down. You need to, you know, and everybody's looking. So I stuck my hands in my pockets, as it were. And I was like, promise me if it gets any worse, you'll take him. And she's like, I got it. I'm fine. I don't need you telling me what to do. So I get in the car. I was like, I looked at Courtney and I was like, she's not going to take him. She's like, no, she'll take him. It's fine. You're worrying too much. 'Cause I do. Look at gray hair. I'm worrying too much. And so we get home. I start feeling sick. So I try to call her. Her phone shut off. Trying to text her. 3 o'clock in the morning comes along. I still haven't went to sleep. I still ain't heard from her. I sent her a message. I said, I'd really like a sit rep on what's going on with him right now. It'd be kind of nice. So I started driving the truck. I got to my destination. I'm waiting. And then I think it was about 10:30 or 11. She calls me frantic. He's unresponsive. And what the F you mean he's unresponsive? I'm stupid. I don't know what that means. And she's like, he won't wake up. And it instantly hit me. I knew something was wrong. I said, I effing told you to get him to the hospital. Why didn't you listen to me? She's like, I don't need this right now. The paramedics are here. And she hung up on me. So I called my boss. I was like, look, she said, my son's unresponsive. I've got to I got to go. So they like dropped the trailer. We're going to have one of the OTR guys come out there and get it. Just bobtail back to the yard. I got to the yard. I got my car. I didn't even clock out. I instantly started running towards Children's. I got up to, what was it? There's probably about 10, 15 miles just outside of Troy. And I get to Vandalia and I'm speeding. I'm going probably 100 something miles an hour. And I happened to notice coming out of somewhere, an ambulance was behind me. And I just got this real sick. I got sick feeling. I was like, that's Caleb. And I'm blasting through on the interstate, forcing people over. And the ambulance winds up being behind me. And I go to the roads leading to Children's and everything. And I'll be damned. It was Caleb. I got me a parking spot and I saw that ambulance go up there and they pulled him out and I just lost it. I ran up there and they said, you must be Dad. I said, yeah. And they let me in and he had a pogo sticker, this thing on his chest, and it was just it was so a person doesn't have to do CPR. It's this machine that does it, and I'm standing there in the doorway, just like, no, this is a nightmare. And she finally comes walking in and she starts poking me. It's like, Justin, you need to leave. You can't watch this. You come sit in this room with me. And I knew what she was doing. She was trying to get me angry so they would be forced to remove me from the hospital. But I didn't. I just kept staring at him, and she kept doing it again and getting louder. And I finally spun around and I said, if you would have just done what I asked you to do and what you were supposed to do, we wouldn't even be here. So get away from me. And well, then she finally left me alone. About 8:30 rolls along. We're upstairs, and they're talking about putting him in a room. And 8:30 is when visitation's over. Her parents had to go, and it was they were her ride because she can't drive on the interstate, she says. So they kind of go around a corner, and she kind of looks at me, and she's like, I can't deal with this. I gotta go. I gotta go. And I was like, well, what do you mean you gotta go? You gotta go get it fixed? And she just looked at me like, I just gotta go. And I said, I need you here because I don't know anything. And she's like, I can't be here. I gotta go. And she left. I think about 9 o'clock rolls along. The doctor comes out and he says, okay, we got him stable. He's going into his room. Where's the mother? I said, she had to go chill out. She left. He said, what do you mean she left? I said, she left, sir. I don't know how else to put it. And so he takes me back to the room, and there's this nurse. I didn't ask too many questions because I'm just sitting there. He's got a tube down his throat. I'm just sitting there staring at him like an idiot. And things, it went from 9 o'clock to 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, like that. And I think it was around 3:30 or so. The doctor came in, and I was sitting on the couch trying to stay away from everybody so they could do their thing because they gave me a chair. I was literally sitting there with him the whole time. And when they came in, I get out of the way. Well, anyway, the doctor comes and sits down next to me, and he says, what are you thinking right now? And I said, well, when do you want to wake up? I mean, is everything looking good? I mean, and that's when he said, well, you don't know. And I said, I don't know what. He said, Mr. Knoll, that machine is keeping your son breathing, and that machine there is pumping him with epinephrine. It's keeping his heart beating. And me just being stupid, I'm like, well, what does that mean? And he said, there's no brainwave activity. And he said, the reason I'm talking to you about this right now is we need to get a hold of the mother. There is a decision that needs to be made here very soon. I'm like, what do you mean decision? There is no decision to be made. What is? And that's when he said, there's no brain activity. I said, prove it. And he said, we can't move him from the room because I think if they put him in an EKG or something like that, he's not stable enough to be moved. So I'm like, so he'll die if you take him from here. And he said, yeah, pretty much. So once again, I'm still not understanding. He has no brainwave activity. He's technically dead. He died in Greenville with the heart attack. He's never going to wake up. So why are they worried about him dying if they take him to the thing? This is just, and I'm all alone here. I have nobody, and finally, he's talking. And I said, now, wait a minute. Now, I was in a really bad car accident years ago, and I saw this woman, Evelyn Brown. She used to put these little things on my head to take my brainwave activity. That's how she found out my manic and mania and whatever. She said my brainwaves would be normal, and then they go back down to 4th grade level. I said, do that. Prove to me that he's not going to wake up in 2 weeks, and then we can talk. Obviously, that took a couple hours. 8, 9 o'clock rolled along. Ashley finally shows up. Courtney and her mother actually beat his mother to the hospital. She comes in. Well, actually, the charge nurse came in, and right away she just started jumping me. She's like, "Okay, sir, are we going to have a problem here? The mother is here now. Are we going to have a problem?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Is there going to be a problem as soon as the mother gets in here?" And I said, "Ma'am, I'm going to be honest with you. All I care about is that little boy right there. I don't give a D about her. And she's like, oh, okay. And then Ashley comes walking in like, what's going on? And I said, well, she just came in here asking if there's going to be a problem, if I need to be blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, I don't know why they'd be doing that. And I'll be darned, that nurse looked right at her. It was kind of like, looked at her like, like, really? So before she went down the lobby, I think she was trying to say I was going to be problematic.
How
Well,
many times did that happen before in the past, Justin, where she would push you until you got a reaction, and then once she got that reaction out of you, it's like, look, see, this is who he is.
11 years.
Yep.
11 years. Yeah. That's what I figured. It seems like this is probably a common occurrence for you.
Before she got pregnant, we lived with her parents, and we was arguing about something. She was talking to a fella, and we was arguing. I was coming out of the bathroom, and she was standing in the hallway, and she just started smacking me. And I'm just like, what are you doing? I'm laughing at her because, I mean, she was so much smaller than me. It's like, Well, I was like, all right, stop. Right as the door opened, her little brother comes in. And right as I put my arm up, she threw herself into the closet door and crashed through the closet door. And she's like, did you see what he just did? And he said, and her little brother, it's still, he's like, no, but I saw what you did. And now Dad has to fix that door. Why did you just do that? He's like, he didn't even touch you. And
red flags.
Oh man, it was, but well, like I said, shortly after that, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, you wanted to make an honest woman out of her, and you ignored the red flags. Yep, you're in good company.
So tell us what happens once Ashley gets there and you guys are being told about the brain activity and the decision.
The doctor finally came in and he was explaining everything to me, and she already knew all this. I knew nothing.
She knew all this before she left the hospital and never stopped to inform you of it.
Nope, didn't want me to know none of it.
You didn't even know about the heart attack, did you?
No, not until about 3-something in the morning. Well, that's when the doctor let me know that cardiac arrest. The high sugar put him into the coma, and the stress of that gave him cardiac arrest. The fact that his heart stopped beating stopped the oxygen to his brain, which is what caused the brain damage. And the paramedics had got it back. But by the time they got him in the ambulance and down the road, they had to rush and get him to Troy because his heart stopped again. And I think that's when they put that machine on his chest. Right. But when she showed up, she was on her cell phone, texting somebody the whole time. Me and Courtney are up there talking to him, and I'm trying to reason with myself as to if I should or shouldn't and all this. And that's when she finally said, I'm going to go outside and smoke. I can't deal with this. I can't make this decision. I need you to do it. And I was like, wait, what, you want me to tell them to pull the plug? And she's like, I can't do it. And she goes running outside. So the doctor comes in and we start talking and everything. And I was like, 100%, there is no chance whatsoever. If I take that boy to my house and put him in a bed, there's no way in 2-3 years, a month, a week, nothing. He's not going to wake up. And that's when the doctor said, no, sir, he's not. But this time Ashley comes back up. And the doctor's explaining everything to me. Ashley's sitting behind me. Courtney and her mother and some other family members are behind the doctor. And he's explaining everything to me, proving to me that my son's not going to wake up. And Ashley, just out of nowhere, can you just stop this? Why do we have to keep rehashing this? And I turned at her. I said, shut up. He's telling me what's going on. And she got mad and just started texting again. And that once the doctor finally proved it to me, I just, if that's what we got to do, whatever, it's fine. He's an old, he's my son. He's going to wake up. As soon as you pull all that stuff, he's going to wake up. So we get up there and we do all that, and they pulled out of him, and they shut the machine off, and his heart was still beating. So I'm like, okay, that's right. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't feel it anymore. And it stopped, and I don't know what I did after that. My sister said I started bulking up a little bit, so she clotheslined me, and she throat chopped me, which made me fall back. And she jumped up in the air and bear hugged my neck and curled up in a ball around my chest area, made me sit to where I couldn't move. And then Courtney's mother came up to me and grabbed both sides of my head, and you're like, okay, Justin, you got to calm down, honey. You got to calm down. And I went from being angry to just, she moved just out of the way enough to where I looked back over and I saw Caleb. And I just, hey, and we finally leave the hospital. It was probably, they died at 1:41. So I finally convinced myself to leave. There was a chaplain there, and I didn't want to leave him. I told him I'd never leave him. And I had to tell him, I was like, you're just going to stay here. These people are going to take care of you a little bit, buddy. And I'll come pick you up in a couple of days from Jackson Server after everything's done. And I left. It was around 3:34, maybe even 5. She had already left. I get home and I walk in the living room and I look at the couch where he was, and it hit me. I'm like, no. I ran up to his room, and that was bad. The neighbors heard me through the walls. And I wound up passing out in his room on his bed. And then we go to Jackson Sarva the next day to set up things for the proceedings. And while I was going through that, his mother was getting a tattoo. I could barely walk, couldn't even talk. I didn't even want to go pick up my other 2 kids because I didn't want them to see me like this. But she got a tattoo. And while we was sitting there, I was a bubbling just pile of stupidity and goo. And she's just like, she looked like a teenager hopped up on caffeine. She was just, oh yeah, I'll sign it. Like nothing, like it was nothing. Like it was just her high school friend that she hasn't seen in a couple of years. And yeah, she's involved with it. That's what it felt like. And then she made it a thing where I'm too scared to go to to have a funeral with you and your family. I'm afraid of what they're going to do. And I don't want you to feel that you have to protect me from your family. So we're just going to have a separate funeral. And that's when I found out that I said, I want a autopsy. She declined the autopsy. He was already at Jackson Sarver's getting ready to be processed. And it hadn't even been 24 hours yet. It was about 10 o'clock when we was there. He was already there. My autopsy didn't happen. And hopefully here shortly, we'll find out why. But
Justin, let me ask you some questions, man. I know this is going to probably be a little deep, but as I was listening to you, I wrote some notes down here of some things I wanted to ask you really quick. How much do you blame yourself for what happened with your son?
I'm going to tell you, man. I know this is going to sound horrible. I don't care what anybody says because I'm a man. You have a duty to protect your kids because they're defenseless. They depend on you. He depended on me. I knew that she was bad and nobody else would believe me. Everybody just, you're being crazy. But I knew I should have overpowered her and just did it and took him to the hospital and dealt with my jail time. because I doubt I'm going to have somebody. I doubt I got a drug dealer that's going to be able to bail me out. But I blame myself 100%. You know, for years she told people that the reason I kept him because he would run. He's going to run away with him. He's going to kidnap him. Going to go. I should have, but I knew I couldn't because if you, I couldn't just kidnap my son and disappear like I know we could have because we'd get caught because I got to get him his medicine.
I heard you talk about when you got your son, you were doing what you thought needed to be done, but you even stop and you call the cops. Can you make a report? This is what's going on. Sound like you tried to do everything by the book. And there was a lot of times where it sounds like you was being left out in the dark as to what's going on. There was a couple of comments you said a while ago, though, I want to correct you on. I heard you say that I'm stupid and that I'm an idiot. You are not stupid and you are not an idiot. And don't be blaming yourself for this because this is what happens to fathers in this system. And I just wanted to make sure that we make those points right now. You are important and you matter. And here it is, 8 months after your son's death, you are still speaking up for him. I want you to give yourself a pat on the back and give yourself a little bit of forgiveness on that because you did what you could. There's a reason why. You see this text message right here on that Xbox. There's a reason why he was reaching out to dad. There's a reason why. And yes, your son was covering up. He had to have one of his friends say, if you don't tell him, I'm going to. You took him that Big Mac. You did what you could, man. Okay? And I'm saying this out of brotherly love right here. You're going to have to pick yourself up from that. You are. And that, I'm glad that we're here. And, you know, that's what this community is for. That's why I started this show in the very beginning. It's for dads like you, man. Don't ever blame yourself and don't call yourself stupid or an idiot no more. You're a loving, grieving father right now. And you are justified in your grief. You're justified in your anger and those thoughts that you're having. Anybody would be having those right now if they went through what you went through. But I wanted to just give you guys a little glimpse. And when talking about this story, obviously Justin's got to be short on some of the stuff that he's saying. But this wasn't the end of the story as it pertains to Ashley. Found this online. This is Ashley right here, Darke County. Do you know what's going on right here, Justin?
Not really.
2 fugitives wanted in connection to a murder in Darke County have been arrested in Florida. According to Darke County Sheriff Mark Whitaker, 35-year-old Dean Baker and 37-year-old Ashley Fletcher of Greenville were taken into custody at a truck stop near Ocala, Florida at about 10:15 p.m. Wednesday. Baker and Fletcher were wanted and became persons of interest in connection to the death investigation of 30-year-old Corey Fleming, who had been missing since August 7th. Fleming's body was found by investigators in a shallow grave at a commercial farm in Brown Township on Saturday. Baker was arrested on charges of tampering with evidence. Fletcher was arrested on charges of having weapons while under disability, according to the sheriff's office. So not long after the death of your son, now we are seeing her being arrested in connection something to a murder. I don't know. I don't guess that case has been done yet. But guys, when you find yourself in a situation like this, and here is a dad that wanted to be there for his kid, wanted to take care of him, but he felt like that was who he had to go and talk to. That's the situation that we're talking about right here, man. And dude, I mean, I just wish I was there. I'd give you a hug right now. I mean, seriously, like you got to find some forgiveness for yourself and don't blame yourself, dude.
Yeah, you can't blame yourself.
Don't do that, please. And I know that's easy for me to say. And I know that like the conversation we had, you know, earlier this week and right now is what I know of the story. But at the same time, man, you got other kids, Justin. You don't have to say their names, but I think you got some other kids, right? How many?
I got a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old little girl.
You're still dad.
Yeah.
You still got to wake up and you still got to be dad. And they look up to you, man. They look up to you.
I know they do.
Did you get to talk to Caleb that night before he went into the coma? No.
Her phone was shut off.
Yep.
Because if she would have let me talk to him, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't blame yourself. I mean, the as we talked about a little bit earlier, the system has failed you.
The reason I blame myself is I've noticed, and I hope this doesn't cause a problem. I've noticed they call it criminal justice for a reason. It's not good guys justice; it's criminal justice, and a lot of these rules and regulations and laws, they are set into place by criminals, and well, like all it falls downhill, and things that are set into place for politicians or whatever, it just tends to trickle down to these types of people. But the reason I blame myself is because I've noticed criminals have more rights than we do. I obeyed the law, and I shouldn't have, because if I would have went against the rules and took him to jail or took him to the hospital, yeah, I would have went to jail. I would have went to court, but I'm a criminal now. So then I'd have a voice and somebody'd listen. Maybe I'd have got out. Maybe not, but Caleb would still be alive. But I didn't. I obeyed the law, and now I'm in prison. He's dead, and they're on bail. 21 minutes from my house.
You are carrying 1,000-pound weight on your shoulder right now. I can see it, and that's why I asked that. And what I would ask is for the community, anybody that's listening to Justin talk right now, let's help lift some of that weight up off of his shoulders. And, let's pay tribute to Caleb. I know that this is a case that's awaiting justice. I guess there's nothing. Was there any investigation following this into neglect or anything
Afterwards?
Yeah.
After he after he passed away, everybody that I've been trying to get a hold of for the past year, they met me at the hospital, and then they were at my house the very next morning. Now it's substantial enough. But like I said, is it going to take him to be dead to be substantial enough? After his death, that's when everybody wants to listen. There wasn't. I love my kids. I've never loved anything in my life. I've always been. I love my job. I take my work very seriously. I love money. The only thing I love more than that is my kids, and I have to do things Caleb's way, not my way. And this, lawyers, talking to police and prosecutors and doing what I'm doing right now, that's Caleb's way. Because my way, I ain't no better than him. But I can't let that be, because then they win. So if everything I'm doing makes me weak, I guess I'm weak. I mean, some people will say, "Oh, if that was me, man, I'd do that." I bet you would. I bet you would. I've been hit by cars. I've been stabbed. I've been shot. And all it did was make me mad. This killed me. And now I got my little 6-year-old. He's got to go through things at school. But shortly after Caleb died, there was a parent-teacher conference. We went straight to the principal and said, "Hey, this is what happened with Xavier. I'm starting to notice a few things with him, and I need your help, because I had issues when I was growing up, and it made me into the man I am today. I'm a very cold, bitter, hateful person. I do not want my little boy to be like that, so I need help." And they're helping. And I think we caught it quick. Because the last teacher conference we had, he's talking to one of the guidance counselors and the principal. They're all very close, and but he's going through a hard time, and I don't know how to fix me, so I had to get help from them to keep him from becoming me. And I got so much going on. I'm starting to lose track of where I'm talking. I'm starting to ramble. So
You're okay, man. We're probably about to wrap this up. I was going to ask you a question. I think I'm going to answer it for you because I can only imagine the thoughts that would be in your head with this question. But I want to say something to Child Protection Services right now. Listen to this case. This is a lot of blood. There is so much blood on the system's hands. There really is. Here is a case that they tried to talk to you, and look at what the story is now. Has there been any? I'm sorry, Justin. At least have you received any apologies?
no, actually, about 2-3 weeks after he passed away, I called up to Darke County Child Protective Services, and I talked to one of the ladies that I had talked to, and I said, "Yeah, I wanted to file a report about a child going through some serious issues. His mother is into drugs and doing this and that. And he's a sick child. He was diagnosed with diabetes, and he's being I don't remember what I said. I was being very sarcastic.
I got you.
And I said, and she said, "Okay, where is this child now?" I said, "He's actually in an urn in a shelf in my dining room. He's dead." I said, "Is that substantial enough yet?" And she proceeded to tell me, "Well, Mr. Knoll, there would have been an investigation. It's just that there's certain procedures that we have to undergo. You got to be very specific in these kind of situations." And I said, "How specific did I need to get?"
You damn right. You need to be specific when a kid's diabetic and not eating
and everything. And I said, "I mean, what more could I have done?" I said, "I should be able to get his death certificate in the next couple of weeks. Do you want me to send it to you, or do you guys think you already have it?" And she said, "I'll document everything that you're saying here, and I'll make a note of things." I said, "Yeah, you do that. You make all the notes you want." And I hung up on her. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I mean, compared to compared to what I wanted to do, obviously that was the better route. But no, I haven't got no apologies. The only people that apologize to me are the police. And honestly, I was angry at the police at first, but the more I got to know them and understand things, their hands are tied just as much as ours.
They are.
I mean, every cop in the world could have went and busted her door down and arrested her right then and there. Criminal justice. They would have lost their jobs. She would have got representation and paid for her inconvenience. So those cops that are busting their butt for these cases, love you. But no matter how hard a police officer goes, it's at the end of the day, it's a judge and a politician that is going to fix this, and that's not going to happen.
Said it.
Well, this stuff, it seems to repeat itself. You know, I'm going to go back. Look at this. There is another homicide. This is August 25th, 2022. What month did Caleb pass away in?
June 7th, 2021.
Talking about like 2 or 3 months, guys. From then, that's when we're coming through with this. And when we overlook stuff like that, there can be severe consequences. And this system seems like it fails. It not only failed Caleb, but not only failed you as a father, but it failed this guy's family. This is something that maybe could have been prevented. Well, we don't know that because there was somebody else that was involved in that too. But there could have been a step to prevent multiple deaths that we're talking about right here. So, I mean, this is just so disheartening. You know, Justin, one thing I'd like to do, man, I'd like to follow up with you from time to time, see how this is going. Do me a favor. Make sure, don't go anywhere. Be tuning into Dad Talk. Get in here in the support group and make sure that you get this story out. I would like to talk to a couple of counselors. Have you done any counseling with this situation?
They sent me to a grief counselor, and I mean, she was a very sweet lady. She did her job very well. But it just, I'm almost 40 years old. I've heard a lot. I've read a lot, trying to understand my own psychosis. A lot of things that they tell me, it's the same thing that I've read or whatever. And she was very Bible-y, which, you know, to each your own. But she said something to me. Do you accept someone into your, you know, I said, honestly, how can I look up to anybody who sacrificed his own son and then decided to take mine? So that offended her, and she told me not to come back, which understandable. I didn't mean it in a bad way. I was being truthful.
Told her how you felt.
But I found out.
I get it.
A lot of the people I talked to, they said, well, I can't imagine what you're feeling. So it's kind of like, well, then why am I here? So maybe I need to find other people that.
I got somebody in mind is why I'm asking you. You need another man to talk to, men's rights guys. And they understand this because they understand the battle that you're going through. I hate to say it, a lot of those experts and those therapists out there have no idea what it's like to walk a mile in your shoes.
They're book smart.
Book smart, but not so much an experience. So I'm going to follow up with you on that. And I just appreciate so much you coming on here and sharing your story. And guys, we got to make sure to keep sounding these alarms so cases like this do not continue to happen. I'm not going to go through the usual, you like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, the ways that you can support the podcast. Please do those. On the way out tonight, you know, I was asking if you got to talk to Caleb that night before all this went down. If you could say something in tribute to your son, if there was something you wanted to tell him, Justin, on the way out tonight, the floor is yours, man. I'm going to let you take this.
I'm sorry I wasn't there. Like I always promised I'd be. I always told you if anybody ever kidnapped you, don't worry, Daddy will find you. I hope you found Pat. And find him as soon as you can. And when Daddy's done, when I'm done working, and it's my turn, come find me. I miss you and I love you and I'm sorry.
Hang on for a second, brother. I'm going to close the show and we're going to come back on and talk to you guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also Super Chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you